Welcome to the live event here, our first podcast in Melbourne. Put your hands together. I got to start the event off like this at every event. Here's what happened. Many months ago, I had this idea and I said to the brands, I said, I would like to do a live podcast. I don't quite know exactly when it will be. I don't know who will come. I don't quite know who my guests are, but can you give me some money? And believe it or not, the ones who came tonight said yes. And we just want to put our hands together for AEG, Ego and Greenworks, because that's the whole thing. That's what's made this event free. It's what's made this event possible. And I'm very appreciative that they supported this without any data, without any vanity numbers. They were just like, yeah, we like what you're doing, Luke. Let's give him a round of applause as a thank you. And I also want to say thank you to Latrobe Golf Club, because we originally didn't even have that back room, and all the weather event happened stuff, and they're like, we could do it. And I was like, could you bring in handheld stuff? And they're like, yep. And I was like, what about mowers? And she's like, I'll ask my boss. And the boss came back saying, yes, we can do it. So another round of applause for those guys, because it's made a great event. A great venue, hey? So today I've scored myself an assistant, Casey over here. Could you stand up, Casey? She quit her job yesterday and started a business today. Put your hands together for Casey. She's not really my assistant. What happened is she rocked up so early, she almost wasn't even born yet. That's how. So, anyways, but she was hanging around, and she is going to be. If you can go.
Yeah, I've actually already poached her, so back off. Starting with us on Friday.
You've hired her already. Yeah. Well done. So what we're going to do is, there's only two mics. These little microphones, they're hooked up to the cameras. These are the little ones are what we're recording it for the live podcast. These are what's going through the speakers. They're just held on by magnets, so you can just pop them off easily. So be gentle with them. But Casey, at some point tonight, soon, we're going to ask a few questions first, is going to hand the microphones to you, and this is what this event is really about, letting you, the punter, ask the question as if you were the interviewer in the podcast. And pretty much no questions are off limits, especially for Nick. Ask him whatever you want. He's fine with it, all right? No boundaries. And anything else? Any other keeping? No, I think we're good. So, one thing I did want to ask, how many of you in here are contractors or a professional in the industry of some sense? Put your hand up if you're a... Gee whiz.
Put your hand down, Paul.
How many of you are looking for employees right now in this industry? Gee whiz. How many of you are looking for work right now? Casey, put your hand up. Okay, just do it again. If you're looking for work, turn around. Who's looking for employees to hire? And who's looking for a job? There you go. People meet up with each other because you're obviously cool enough to come to this event. You'll have something in common. First question for you, Ashley James. Why didn't you support the podcast?
Jesus.
No, I'm joking. I do want to start with this on a serious note. You've been landscaping since you basically, you were still in school, right?
Yes, I was 14, started a pre-apprenticeship and then went full-time at 16.
And right now you're doing pretty cool landscape designs. You found yourself a little niche, which I think is pretty cool. Most people here are small business owners. What's your number one tip for those sorts of people who want to create a business where they're doing unique, special, high-end work? And I know that's pretty broad, but what if someone's coming to you and they're like, I'm doing stuff at the moment that it's paying the bills, but it's not that exciting. I like what you do. How did you get that kind of business?
I followed Joel around for about 2 years and just undercut him on everything. And it's worked out pretty well. No, there's no secret. You have to do the crap jobs. I did it at the start. I did jobs with, I hate to admit it, but I did jobs with red mulch and black mulch and white pebbles and all that kind of crap just to get a name out there and pay the bills. And you've just got to do it. Like, there's just shut up and do it, and then it'll pay off one day. But there's still stuff that we do that I'd never put on social media because we make money from it and it pays the bills and keeps the kids fit. So I think people get wrapped up in what they see on Instagram these days, and what we show on Instagram is very different from, not to say that like we're not doing that kind of work, but there's also a lot of crap stuff that goes on behind the scenes as well.
Do you have photos from back in the day that you reminisce about and think, you know, like I was actually saying to someone out here today, I was like, you know, you get those tough jobs when you first start and you hate them at the time, and you look back at them and you're like, oh, there's some sort of fond memory of that you're through that stage. Do you have photos where you look back on and you're like, I remember that job, it was rubbish?
Yeah. Yeah, we've had a lot of them coming up on Facebook lately. Facebook memories are a good way to kind of, sometimes you think, oh, you know, I'm not doing that good. And then a Facebook memory will come up from 15 years ago and I'm like, oh, actually, you know what, we're doing a bit better. So, yeah, it's, I don't know. So
No.
you've got to do it. You've got to do the crap stuff. And then you listen to people like Miles Baldwin, for argument's sake, one of the best landscape designers by far in Australia. And if you actually...
Whoa!
Debatable.
Wow.
I'm going to a Miles Baldwin garden next
Definitely
week.
tagging him in this. You said you didn't share it. I'm going to share the hell out of that. Anyway, if you listen to him speak, he started from the ground up and did all the crap stuff to get to where he is now. So, jeez, Joel.
Question for Joel now. Why do you hate Miles Baldwin? No, it's a joke too. Don't answer that.
Actually, I don't hate him, but some people can get really lucky when they start out. And he actually started on massive jobs. Like, he started on the jobs that most people would dream of working on.
Have you had him on the podcast?
Yeah, that's how I know it.
Okay.
So, yeah, you can get really lucky, but one thing, a good thing to do is to do, like Ash was saying, do all the jobs you can get, so then you can work out what you like and do more of that. So you try as many different things as you can, so that then you work out what, if you want to work in a niche, then you can do that, or if you don't want to, you can continue doing everything. But yeah, trying just as many different things as you can is a good way to do it.
Then my question for you, my obvious question for you, yesterday was your 200th podcast. Well done. Put your hands together for that. That's an achievement. You should be prepared for this question, even though it's a bit of a dumb question. What is your favourite podcast that you've done?
Yeah, apologies for the pause, but I wasn't prepared, as I'm not for any of the questions that come through. Probably it'd be either Dan Herald or Ian Barker. So they're both big name designers who some could argue are some of the best in Australia.
Slightly better than Miles Baldwin.
But yeah, just and it's about hearing how they started is exactly how everyone else starts. Like, that they were working on rubbish jobs to start with. They weren't charging for designs when they started. So everyone, even the people at the top,
Awesome.
They start at the bottom and work their way up. Most people do.
There's a lot of pressure on asking him that question because there's about 8 people in the audience that have been on his podcast as well.
We need to share the microphone if we're going to talk, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, get your act together, right? First you don't share it, and now... I'm like, no, you did share it. It's all right. It's just a nice joke now that I can't let go. Because I don't have a unique sense of humour of my own. Anyways, Nicholas, or Mr. Lawnsingoodnick, how are you feeling being here?
Yeah, a little bit nervous. It's a little bit weird. Like, today, recording at my place is like, you know, it's nice and relaxed. And,
In your house?
Comfortable environment, or just sitting in front of Zoom. So to actually have real human beings here is a bit strange.
Yeah, what's crazy is like and I had a little bit of chat because Tim was a little bit nervous before we did the Perth event. And what's your biggest, most popular reel? I remember you got one that got into the 30 million on Instagram. Do you know, like you probably do, the most popular one that you've done?
Yeah, I'm still getting notifications for it now. It's at 46 million.
Whoa.
Yeah, so.
And that's the Ryobi, no, that's the one where you...
It's just a lawn renovation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just...
You had the Lawn Dad one that went viral as well, coming back from holiday.
Yeah, yep. Lots of people didn't like that I was excited about mowing my lawn when I got home, but...
No. But what's crazy is like there's something real about this, whereas 30, 40 million...
Yeah, that's not real, is it? It's
But
just
do you feel like...
not real numbers.
How do you feel getting viewed by 40 million? Like that's like almost twice. 46 is very close to twice Australia's entire population.
It's cool. It's cool to get those sorts of numbers and, have...
Do you feel a bit of like imposter syndrome? Do you feel a bit like, like, do I deserve this? Because it's almost too much. But then again, like, you made a good video. Like, anybody can make a video. Like, it's strange.
Yeah, I think all the social media stuff's interesting with that, and definitely a lot of imposter syndrome that comes along with things, because I think it's probably like the people, the chefs with the most followers on Instagram might not be the best cooks in the world, and the lawn guys with the most followers might not know the most about lawns, and and so on throughout all other sorts of things. But some people in like the social media sort of world, or even TV presenters and things like that, have got that certain amount of skills, or created videos that are enjoyable to watch, or whatever it may be, that end up having the notoriety. But it's actually some guy, I think actually Graham saying that on the podcast with you, that you just did something like, there's some guy out in the middle of nowhere who knows everything about grass, who's just phenomenal, that has no followers, and he's just working at working at a golf course somewhere or whatever, but it's a phenomenal looking golf course, and they would know 20 times more than me, or even other people who are in the industry. So yeah, I mean, it's I enjoy the social media stuff and trying to get videos out there and get more people into the hobby and doing it. So yeah, I mean, I guess getting more views and followers doesn't make me, a better dad or a better husband or anything like that. It's cool to have some followers and stuff.
I need something to prop up my insecurities.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I don't try to get too caught up on it, like whether something does well and gets a few views, or if it does poorly and gets not as many views. I think often I put out videos that are pretty similar quality, and for some reason some go big and others just fade away and don't get seen as much. So it's a bit random.
So, Miss Casey, could you come and grab the microphone? I've got a question for you, Joel, real quickly, because about those rough diamonds. If you've got a question, put your hand up now, and Casey will pass around. Casey, you just walk around freely. Someone will ask something. And the person who asks the first question is my favourite, by the way, because that's the person who gets the ball rolling. They're brave. They're full of wisdom and integrity. Any other manipulative terms I could use to get this happening? No, but Joel...
Oh, here we go.
Here we go, brave man in the corner. But before that happens, I got one for you really quick. I'll give you the microphone, and then this lovely gentleman can ask. But as a podcaster, I love finding diamonds in the rough. Probably one of my best diamonds in the rough is my own business coach, who doesn't even have social media, and he's probably one of the most requested guests that we have on, and all that sort of stuff. And people really like that kind of stuff. Who are some diamonds in the rough that you've had on? People might not have listened to your podcast, and they should go listen to those sorts of guys.
That is also another tough question. But yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head, because there's been there's about 150 people on as guests. But those people who like I've never heard of, like I enjoy talking to them as much as people who I know, like their friends. Because I'm genuinely interested in talking to the people about their story and finding out. That's why I like doing the podcast, because it's not like a chore, because I actually want to know where people started and how they run their business. So the amount of followers that have is irrelevant. But even people with big followers are like awesome people to deal with as well. Like none of the people I've had on are sort of arrogant about the number of followers they've got. So yeah, it's the follower count is irrelevant, and like Nick was saying, like I've said it a couple of times, the best landscaper in the world doesn't necessarily have Instagram. Like the best one I know doesn't have an Instagram page. So yeah, it's like I love doing it as well, but it doesn't mean anything really.
Question?
Yeah, you kind of just covered it, but I was going to say, do you think that followers and views equates to profit? Like, can you see a point where it went, I've had 1,000 views, or I've had 2 million views, or I've had 20,000 followers or 50,000 followers, and it went, oh shit, we had a real increase there? Or was it just tire kickers, so to speak, going, love your work, or why'd you do that? Or was it more, is there a point that you're aiming for as far as followers to views for money? I guess, is the question. Is there a profit line or is it sponsorship for you?
Yeah, so you've talked about it a few episodes on the podcast as well, and I think, yeah, you could end up with a heap of followers in Argentina, and what benefit is that to you for trying to get, business? Big in Argentina. And I completely agree with that. And where your followers are actually located, if you're servicing an area, within 45 minutes or whatever of where you live, there's not likely to be, there's going to be a big spread of followers, I guess. From my point now, I'm pretty confident just from general inquiries and that sort of thing. I think if I opened up my diary and said I'm doing renovations this season, in the southeast, Mornington, whatever, I think I'd be pretty busy. So that would translate a lot. Having said that, I think the average probably business owner is just running the business, doesn't probably have as much time as I do to put into making videos and that sort of thing that has gotten me that audience as well. So it's sort of a bit of a trade-off of being able to do both of those things. We spoke about it, I think, the first time I was on, and I think social media as a starting point, if you're a business owner, it's probably just trying to have some before and afters and all that kind of thing that you can probably show potential clients, or if someone, is looking to employ someone or whatever, and you've got examples of your work and that sort of thing on there, and maybe you will enjoy it more, maybe you'll fall into it more, and you'll start off posting photos 3 times a week. When I first started, I was like, I don't want to go more than 3 days without posting, and I just sort of kept falling into it, and then I'll play around, make this video, and then I'm sort of start to more so now when I do stuff, be like, I can record it from this angle and make this type of video, whatever. So potentially people could fall into that and get into that, build more of a social media following and kind of do both. I think there's definitely merit to it, to having your social media following. I know Brad, Lawn Addict over in Torquay, he gets tons of business through Instagram. And I've spoken to him before, and he said, like, anytime I put up a post, I think he's got maybe 40,000 followers or something. Anytime I put something up, I get heaps of messages and stuff, people, inquiries and stuff. So yeah, I think if it's done right, and you probably, even in the content you're putting out, is targeted to your area, it's not just wildly general lawn tips or advice, but it's really targeted to this climate, you could probably, definitely generate business from it. But that's just my perspective from an Instagram vlog. So let's ask some actual business owners.
Good thing. Sam, we got the next question. Put your hand up and we'll pass it on to these guys. What are your thoughts on it all?
I think it's, if you're wanting to get business out of it, then you'd want to have more of a structured way of doing it. So, like, if you look at Ash and Nick's Instagram pages, they're quite consistent with the way they look. Whereas if you look at mine, I just carry on like an idiot, so I don't get a lot of work directly from that. But yeah, you do what you want to do. So if you're wanting to get work out of it, you're probably going to be better off being more serious about it. Like there'd also be some people who would choose me because they like that personality. But yeah, you'd want to have some sort of structure around it, I think.
You're pushing your luck with that personality one. Just to go on Instagram followers, I'd like to say that's a great question there from Andy by Leaf. So if you are looking for a page to follow,
That's it.
yeah, well, known him for a while now. I think, so the majority of what I call my 1% clients have maybe seen my Instagram, but maybe not. But what having Instagram there creates is, if you've got a nice portfolio that if someone does search for it, it's a good way to showcase your work, and you can do it in a professional way, so that if they go onto it and you've only got 300 followers, but it's a professional looking page, they'll go, this guy's legit. So I don't think followers brings you in work. And if it does, maybe it's not those 1% of clients either. So I think it's probably here or there. A really good example is Pollyanna Wilkinson over in the UK. She built her whole business via Instagram, and I've watched her build that from when she only had 2,000 followers to now she's at like 400,000 or something like that. But I've watched her build her business on social media. It's fun and it's in a cheeky way, but it's very professional as well. So the clientele that she is getting from that is obviously those 1%ers that are still paying good money. But yeah, I wouldn't let followers put you down or affect you if you post something and you're only getting a few likes. Like, I think, I don't know what we're at now, like maybe just shy of 40,000 followers on Instagram. I used to put a photo up pre-reels and I'd get 4,000, 5,000 likes, no worries. And I don't do reels because I'm not like Joel. I can't come up with those creative ideas of making turf lay itself. So I'll post something now and it might only get a few hundred likes, but I've got 40,000 followers and I'm like, oh, that's a bit shit. But at the same time, I'm not getting the work from that. Like, I'm not getting one of those people that follows me. They're not necessarily going to spend $300,000 on us to design and build a garden for them. So it's just use it as a good portfolio platform so that if people do look you up, that you've got something good to represent you and your brand.
Question over here.
Yes. While we're on this social media discussion, this is kind of a two-part question if the first part's true. Nick, did your wife kind of push you into social media? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was sort of putting up a few, just photos on my personal Instagram story and stuff like that. And then, eventually, it was while we were stuck at home with COVID, actually, in a two-week isolation, sick and everything like that, and slowly just talked me into it. So, yeah.
So if she didn't push you into it, do you think you would have got into it on your own? Or do you think it was kind of, that push you needed to start documenting it more?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's hard to say. Probably without that support, and especially like to keep doing it to the level that I'm at now. In terms of like, she just went out one day and bought me stuff to be able to record for YouTube. And in terms of the time and stuff like that that I do put into it at times, like, she's definitely very supportive, which helps a lot. I think for anyone with anything, whatever hobby or whatever it may be, definitely helps if you've got support at home. No matter what it is. So yeah, definitely owe a lot to her and her support for sure. I'm not too sure I would have gotten into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, no, that's fair enough. Even her channel's great, so I mean...
Yeah, she enjoys her social media. She has a bit of fun on her Instagram, craving a saving. If anyone needs to refinance, looking to buy a house, anything like that, get a few bit of business that way.
And latest guest on the pod. So, Bryce, you got a question?
Yeah, I was just going to say, would you guys like to ever bring out a book, if that's like what you do, if that's lawn care or... making a cottage garden, how to do it, or construction for you, Joel, or whatever it might be.
I've actually got a cheeky thing with this. I've considered making a colouring book and then just putting words at the bottom, but calling myself an author. So, I mean, if nobody checks, you could still technically have the label, you know what I mean? Like, and then I could go like author, podcaster. Just don't look at the book because it's just colouring in. It's some random stuff I've got off clip art or something like that, Anyway, anyone want to answer that?
Yeah, I have thought about it because I've seen some people who like do the same thing. They'll bring out a book of just projects that they've done, but you need to start photographing those projects. But like Ash does a lot of professional photos, so he's probably got a lot more opportunity to make a book like that. And you could just like all they do is do like 6 projects, and you just talk about it, putting photos in. So there's not a lot. It's not like you're writing a novel or anything. So, and also when you're passionate about it, you're talking about something that you like, so it's easier to write about the project. So I think if it's something you're looking at doing, you want to start getting your projects professionally photographed, whether that's in maintenance or construction. And it's just, it doesn't make you any better at what you do, but it's a perception that you're more important than, like if you compare 2 people, one of them's got a book about their projects, that seems like they're a big deal. So you're going to get some people who will choose you for that. So it's like not many people do business cards or a lot of websites anymore. So that can be something as well. Like if you just rock up to an appointment and say, here's a copy of my book for you. I don't know what they cost to make, but I think... yeah, it can keep the kids busy with that too, with the colouring book. But
any of you guys want to answer that?
I actually would really like to do one, even if it's just like a coffee table book or something like that. It's funny, like you say the author, I'm like can put journalist on my thing now, because I do the column. Yeah, but like if you spoke to any of my high school teachers, especially my English teachers, there's no way that would have been in my future. Andy could vouch for that. It's the same school we went to. But yeah, no, I would definitely be interested in it. And I think it's a good way to market, and you've got to put yourself out there and do things like that. So you said cottage garden, which I'm assuming was directed at me. A lot of the stuff that we use is wildflowers, and we do a lot of the seed. So I'm in talks with them at the moment to do like an Ashley James seed range, and we're going to start promoting that pretty shortly. But you need to do stuff like that, and you need to get yourself out there and go sit on a landscape podcast and stuff like that to network and what's that doing?
No idea.
Okay. Yeah, you've got to...
Side doesn't want to be part of this thing.
Yeah.
A bit like you when we were trying
Here we go. I hate you, Joel. Yeah, you just got to put yourself out there. So if it's a book or something like that, or coming to something like this and networking, then I think it's definitely worth it. So I met Joel like, I don't know, 10 years ago at the Melbourne Flower and Garden Show, and we've been networking with each other ever since. So
Is that what you call it?
yeah. Remember that time I beat you on the front yard of the block?
Is that the year we won the courtyard?
You didn't win the courtyard, didn't pass regs. The whole thing was pulled apart.
See, I think it's interesting to to think about, because with you doing that, you've got your landscaping school, it's called. You've got your course as well. Yeah, so all of this is I guess all of us really are doing extra things on top of our social media presence and stuff as well, to really try and build on that, reach more people, try and get more people into what we're into this sort of industry, and using that platform. So I think it's something that it really shows that power of social media as well, to be able to expose more people to it and all that kind of thing. And so I've got my lawn programs, trying to get people to have more success with lawn care, and you trying to keep people in business longer by having more success. And Joel, I'm sure your course is really good too. I don't know what's in it, but just landscaping stuff. Yeah,
Eventually it'll be good.
be good at landscaping if you ever finish it. But yeah, so it's kind of taking that opportunity to monetize more that expertise, and everything is what all of us are sort of doing in a sense, which I think is good, and trying to also in turn grow the industry. So yeah.
I got distracted giving Joel a hard time. But what I was going to say is ebooks seems to be something that's really big at the moment. So Bonnie Stacey, that I think you tried, but the interview didn't go through, Joel's had on the podcast. You've got Grant Boyle from Fig Landscapes. You got Ollie from Hungry Wolf, if you can afford that one. There's a lot of stuff out there at the moment that's not necessarily your printed copy of a book that's going on the coffee table, but ebooks seem to be a real big thing at the moment too.
We've got a question over here.
Yes. Thank you, guys, for sharing your knowledge and engaging with the industry the way you are. For someone that's newer in the industry, I really appreciate it. On that line, I'm currently employed in terms of doing landscaping and looking and dabbling with my own private clients. What tips or hacks would you share or give that necessarily isn't, increase your social media following or that sort of stuff, that would be really beneficial for building up your own clients, or using this type of equipment because it saves you back, or that sort of stuff?
Buy the Aussie Green Biz Mastery course, which you get a 30% discount off for attending today. No, it's landscaping. It's really for you guys.
What I did before I started out, when you're working, you'll be making contact with people within the industry, and that's one of the best things you can do. So what I did was I spoke to a couple of guys and said, if I can't get my own work, can I get work off you or work for you? So you can have other people that you can work for in between doing your own projects. Because a lot of the time when you start out, you might do a lot of projects for family and friends, but they don't last forever and they're not sustainable. So you don't want to get caught in a trap where you think you're okay to go out on your own because you've got those projects, because you want to get ones that are coming from another source or multiple sources. So also contacting a designer or someone else who gets those kind of projects and needs them built. So then you've got multiple sources of income, of work leads coming in. And so you can do advertising as well, like put a business card at a local garden supplies yard, or paving supplies, or whatever the type of work that you're wanting to do. And take as many photos, start building up your portfolio of work so that then you can promote it. And if where you're working if you can't use a finished project, sort of zoom in and take little smaller projects, so it's not obvious of which project it is, but you can show the type of stuff that you can do. But I reckon the contacts within the industry is the best way to go. So, yeah, because everyone's, like, it depends the time of year, but for example, I've got more work than we can handle. So when people have messaged me saying we're short on work, someone will ring me up, want me to do a job, I say, yeah, we can't do it, contact this person. So the more people you can do that to, the more sources of leads you can have coming in.
So are you employed by a landscape company at the moment? Are they a big company or are they like a small...
Commercial at the moment.
Okay, so that's a hard one. What I did and what I recommend to a lot of people that are looking to go out on their own when they're with a residential, it might be like a smaller company, is that you set up your ABN, you get your insurances, and then you start subcontracting to them 4 days a week. So you've still got a guaranteed income at 4 days a week, and then you use Friday, Saturday, Sunday if you have to go out and build up your own stuff. But you know you've got that Monday to Thursday to cover all your overheads and all your bills. And then as you get busier, you drop back to 3 days, and then you drop back to 2 days, and then you can eventually move on from them. But you don't burn the bridge so that you can always go back to them if need be. So similar to what Joel was saying too, where you're reaching out and you're networking. So coming to stuff like this, and then, you know, all of a sudden, we literally met at the start of the night because Casey was like the first one here, and we realised that we're at the same area, and I'm currently looking for someone to help us out on a Friday. She's just gone out on her own, bang, come in and go from there. It's like, when you get into the industry and you start networking, you realise how nice 99% of the people in this industry actually are, and they will go above and beyond to try and help you out. So I would set up and I would look at subcontracting. Commercial, that's kind of above me. I don't really know how that works from that point of view.
It's residential that I'll be moving into.
Yeah, but I suppose it's a little bit harder because I'd imagine you probably wouldn't be able to subcontract to them. They might have different rules and regs. But again, speak to some residential landscapers, do it that way, speak to designers, speak to the garden suppliers, and come to events like this and speak to people like Joel and myself and go from there.
We got another question. While we're doing that, I would say as well, I think it's there's something about this industry. When I got into the industry, I thought that people who ran the same businesses as me were my competitors. And in a technical sense, they are. But the industry is such that there has been for a long time so much work that most people who have been in for a while actually are kind of drowning sometimes in that work. And they would love to have someone young and enthusiastic that they could pass work on to, young in the business, I mean. And there's something about people and building relationships. And I think the industry itself, I was saying this before to somebody here, there's something about pulling out weeds, digging in the dirt, shoveling mulch that is humbling in a certain sense. And so I think a lot of the tall poppy syndrome that you might see in other industries isn't here because you have to filter it out. I mean,
You see it with a few. Sorry. You do. I think you're right, and that's why I said 99%. You do see it with a few of the high-end designers who will think that they're kind of above and beyond. But at the end of the day, we're all dirt monkeys. So it doesn't matter if you're doing maintenance, you're doing landscaping, or you're doing design, you're making your money from getting your hands dirty. So that's why I said, the majority of the people in the industry, if you sent me a message on Instagram and asked me, I'd be more than happy to try and help you out with stuff like that. And I do that with a lot of people. Not to say that, I know what the hell's going on. I'm just fake it till you make it. But, people will help you out and they'll give you guidance there as well. So
that was basically my point. If you're really nervous to message people, you'd be surprised at how many people would actually help out. Nick tries to respond to all his messages, unless the message request doesn't work.
Yeah, that's it. But that's something as well that I've found in the lawn care sort of community, is that there's heaps and heaps of pages that started around a similar time to me, and heaps of them all comment on each other's stuff and, like each other's stuff and be messaging and all that sort of thing. And I'm sure that landscaping sort of field is similar. So if you did start a page, even if it's just to network with other landscaping pages to, build a community of people that you might, even if they might be interstate and things like that, but you might, make some sort of internet friends and people who are doing similar things that you can, just bounce things off because they're doing the same thing as you and going through similar things, and even get to a point of referring on jobs and stuff like that. So definitely a lot to be said for communities within that social media sort of space too.
Got a question here.
Thanks for sharing your knowledge tonight, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time. My question is in regards to, I guess, marketing, which obviously is something that's important to all four of you in where you are. For a business that hasn't done much marketing and hasn't built much of a following, based on your experiences, what are the important things to take somebody from being a collector of photos and videos of work that they do to being somebody that is able to actually get them out of that sort of phone library purgatory? And how much of a drive, or how much of an X factor does it add once you get into a state where you can add your voice or your face to the videos or photos that you're posting, not just the work that you're doing?
I'll have a left field answer for you. There's sites like Fiverr, Upwork and stuff like that. I think that you take someone like Nick or Tim from Tim the Lawnmower Man, these guys, they have a skill and an eye for stuff that maybe is a little bit underappreciated, that they can make these videos that are viewable, and a lot of us don't actually have that same skill. Like, I make videos that I think are good and they just don't go anywhere, and then I watch them compared to, say, Tim's. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing different, but I know my video is not as good, you know? There are people on those platforms that's actually what they love doing. And you will have to spend some money, but I actually think if you just got, say, like a Google Drive and you just went to some of these people and you were like, I've uploaded 600 photos, some are before and afters, whatever you spend an afternoon doing that, and being like, I'll pay you to do 3 social media posts a week. I want them to kind of look like, you could literally take a few different pages, combine a bit of what Nick does, a bit of what Ash does, and I know we're on a budget, do the best you can, trial it for a month and see what you get. Because I find that a lot of people, what they do is they get an average post, I see this all the time, and then they boost it for $100 in a week or something like that on Facebook, and it doesn't really do anything. And I'm sort of thinking, wouldn't you be better spending that $100 on organic traffic? Maybe you would actually get the result. You might not get the vanity numbers of reach and stuff like that, but you may find somebody, and it might be a bit of work. It might take you 6 months to find the right person, 1 month after another. But there's a way of doing it if you're not skilled. And yeah, I know these guys probably are like, oh yeah, we're not that good, but I haven't gotten a video that's... My best video is of an interview with Tim the Lawnmower Man, and I've just used his clip and put his head over the top of it, and it got like 300,000 views. It's not even me. I've just stolen all of his content. It just happened to be on my page. I didn't even tag him in it. You know, like it's not a collaborative thing. And I don't even know why it worked, but there's something he does. He's got an eye for it. I don't know. And I'm not going to pretend like I'm going to get that skill in the next week. You would like to add anything?
I think just make the account and just post. And some of your first posts might be junk. Like I've for some reason looked at it and I've got like 1,200 posts on Instagram, and my amount of video, like my videos now and photos now, if you go back to the very start, I'm sure there's a fair difference, you know? So like a lot of things, like don't overthink it or whatever. I think just make the account, just post of, you know, whatever it is you want to get up there. Just get into it, and you know, you probably put it on your personal Facebook page, like, hey, can everyone go and follow my new business Instagram or whatever, and you probably get 50 followers, and you know, just slowly trickle through and just get started for sure. In terms of like making videos, I made like a few videos that never got posted to like practice before I ever put my voice on Instagram. I don't know, you might just while you're driving along, just pretend you're like doing a voiceover, but talking about the drive to work or about folding washing or something. I don't know, like just talking and just, yeah, practice with that, make videos that no one ever sees potentially, and just quite literally get started. Who's next?
You guys want to add anything?
I don't don't think it's a guaranteed necessity that you have to put your face or voice on out there either. Like, because if you don't, there's some people who are naturally good at it. Some people who sort of force themselves to do it and like it. But if you don't enjoy doing it, then you're not going to do it consistently, and you won't keep posting if you think I have to do that. So you might just, like, some people won't want to put their face on, but you can put your voice on. You can just like talk through a project or whatever you're doing. But whatever you do and whatever you're posting and however consistent it is, like, you might want to stretch your comfortableness a little bit and do a bit, like, put yourself out of your comfort zone a bit. But you want to do something that's going to be long term, that you can do consistently, because that's what the best accounts do and get the best results, is by being consistent. So it's not just by doing a post one day and then not doing anything for 3 weeks and then putting 7 in that week and then nothing for another month. So do something that's achievable and that you enjoy doing, because, like, you're not going to enjoy it 100% of the time, but if you can enjoy it the majority, you'll find yourself doing it more often and get better results out of it.
I know that's something I'm like as an Instagram user myself, just when I'm scrolling through stuff, is like, okay, you might find a profile, click on it, and if you see their last post was 6 months ago, like you were saying about consistency, it's like, why would I follow? Because they don't post, you know? So it's, a little bit of consistency with it as well is probably what's going to make people see it and want to follow. And I think you'll find too, it's just a slow trickle, and, you know, it's just about, you might find that you do get into it and you do have a bit of an eye for it and you do really enjoy it. I know for me, like, even if I was to start, once the kids go to school and stuff, like my mowing business or whatever, like, I'd still, as long as I'm enjoying making the videos and stuff, I'll keep putting that level of effort into it. But, you know, for others, you might be better off putting your time into Google Ads or something instead. So it's just, it's not a, like you were saying about putting your voice over things, like Project T31, he's had millions of views for Ego. I've never heard his voice. I wouldn't even know what his name is, but I've like interacted with him heaps on social media. He's got heaps of videos of millions of, he might have put his voice or his face on there once or twice, but it's all just, you know, satisfying stuff to watch. There's definitely nothing that says you have to get on there and really talk and have the camera in your face either. It's just see what your natural progression is like. For me, it just happened, and I enjoy it. So it's like, cool, keep going. But for lots of others, it's not like you have to do it that way.
You got a question at the back there?
Oh, hold on a second, sorry.
Yep.
What industry are you in?
Maintenance.
Okay, so and you're recently just started?
I've been going for a while, but like the Instagram and all social media side of things is new to me. I've been advertising through Google My Business, and most of my clients have either come through there or word of mouth over time. But over time, I feel like it's something I should invest more time in. But as a sole trader, solo operator, it's that hard part of like, where do I invest my time? Should I become an expert in that, or put my energy more broadly into what earns the bills, which is, I guess, cutting the grass or pruning the plants?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask the question to what you're in. So again, don't get caught up in views versus leads, because there's a huge difference. I can put something up and it will get no views whatsoever, but if I land one client who's going to spend $100,000 on me, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, I've made my money from that. So I would say, I did build up a maintenance company, and we were doing maintenance there solidly for probably 3 years. And one of the best things that I did was I contacted designers. So I spoke to designers and I spoke to landscapers, and that doesn't cost you anything from a marketing point of view. That's either you reach out via social media, you go onto their website. This dinosaur doesn't have a website by the sounds of it, but the majority of them will. Jump on the website, get their number, give them a call, introduce yourself and speak to them, and just say, look, I'm in this area, I service this, I've got this experience and this qualification. If you've got anything coming up, I'd be interested in, if I could come out and give you a price to maintain it for your clients. Every designer is going to want a garden maintenance person on their projects maintaining it, because they want to go back in 2-3 years and photograph it. In our industry, I always hate interior designers, because they can finish a project, photograph it, and they're done. We have to wait a year, 2 years, 3 years before we can photograph it and get that full effect that we really want to showcase to our future potential clients. So speak to designers, speak to landscapers, And again, that's going to cost you nothing from a marketing point of view, and that could bring you in so much work that you could have a full-time business up and running. And then if you're starting out in the industry, I would even just like Facebook Marketplace and all those local Facebook community groups where you're not paying to advertise, but the amount of work that you can get from that is quite large too. So, yeah.
We've got a question at the back. I will shamelessly plug the course as well, because we actually put in there, and like it's really for people. People don't have to buy it, right? Do you know what I mean? But if someone is interested, especially listening to this later on, we got to a point where we're getting about 20 or 30,000 hits a month on our website from SEO. A lot of it's from articles, but we've also found that really effective. Very time consuming, but we actually put into the exact process of what we did in the course, because I think there's certain staples, and sometimes algorithms and Instagram and all that sort of stuff can come and go, but there's certain things that, like SEO or like, good presence with word of mouth and that sort of stuff. So there's lots of different angles. People listening, you don't have to buy the course or anything if it doesn't suit, but there might be one person out there listening who's like, yeah, that's what we want, and that's what we made it for. Because a lot of people get into gardening, they're great at gardening, and then the business side, you've done 40 hours on the tools, 50, 60 hours on the tools, and then someone's like, oh, you got to do your bass, and you got to do your this, and then you run out of work, you're like, oh, I forgot to do my marketing. It's a lot. At the back.
Right, sort of following on from that previous question, in terms of social media, tipping all of you guys are far, far more prevalent in that space than I am. Is there a particular platform that you guys have found has worked better for you, either in terms of reaching people and then creating some work? And is there like a style of content, whether it's videos, this Reels thing that's coming out now, stuff with music, time-lapse stuff, or raw kind of footage that's like you just whack a GoPro down and film yourself building something or maintaining something or whatever? What have you found that's kind of been the most successful?
I'll say very quickly that I think LinkedIn is underrated for business to business, because there's a lot of people on LinkedIn who are really doing, like they're business owners, they're CEOs, they're general managers, and they get involved in that platform. And if you want to get commercial work, there's a lot of great people on there. So that's an avenue. I don't know how to master it, but that's actually how we get a lot of the interesting guests on the podcast. So there you go.
I think in terms of what videos to make, you might find yourself, if you do start making videos, that you have a certain style that you like to make. Because different guys have got different ways they do it. Like Tim basically never uses like trending music or anything like that. It's always like that 10 times buzz of the sound of the tools working, and it's got that certain satisfying look to it. I like making different types of videos. If anyone sees the one I posted tonight, that was super time consuming. I had to go back through my gallery, find heaps of old videos, and I had to download from iCloud, and it was like heaps of going back and forth to different time frames and stuff. That took me like an hour and a half. It was like too long, but I'd overcommitted by the time I was halfway through it. But I still didn't mind the process of actually making that video. It was pouring rain outside, so I sort of had the time, and it was okay. But you might find that time-lapsing, just setting it up, and there's heaps of accounts that I see do that, and they've just set up the tripod, done a time-lapse of them mowing the lawn for the day, and it's, that's fine with some music over the top. Some people, we see some great videos even from like garden designers and things like that, where it's literally just like someone's holding the camera and they just talk about something, for 45 seconds or something like that, don't do anything fancy to it, bang, Instagram, upload, and it's up. And that is like super quick, simple. So it doesn't have to be in time to the cuts of music and like really fancy and over the top. It can be whatever sort of style is sort of simple and suits you and you actually personally like to make. Like I personally make videos that I like to watch. I think find a style you like, sort of thing, would be my advice with that, because it has to sort of be sustainable if you want to maintain for your business, to market your business or whatever. Like if you actually hate making the videos and stuff and it's a massive chore, well, it's probably not worth it.
I think the first 1 to 3 seconds is really important in any video style that you do, because you want people to stop scrolling and have an interest in what the video is going to be about. So what I've done, because I like doing time lapses because they're really easy. You just set the GoPro up and do what you were going to do anyway, and then you can edit it later on. But what I've started doing with some of them is I'll show for like a second at the start the finished product, and then the time lapse starts, and then you show the finished product at the end. So I found those ones work better than just doing the time lapse by itself. But in terms of like Ash was saying before, you could get a lot of views on some videos, but it doesn't mean you get any leads. Whereas some videos might get less views but more leads. So it depends what you're wanting to get out of it.
I actually feel like a bit of an imposter being up here with all this social media stuff because I'm not getting any of these views or anything. I think if you're from a garden maintenance point of view, look at Will Gibson on Instagram. See everybody's shaking their head, so I'm imagining you guys have seen a lot of his stuff. Mate, shut up, Joel. Who even invited you? Shannon Knoll lookalike. Anyway, if you look at someone like Will Gibson, his business has blown up via Instagram with his reels. And you watch the style that he makes them in, and it's very much like an ASMR style. So obviously people are really into that and they really enjoy that kind of thing. If you look at, I was going to say your name, but I don't want to say it. If you look at a landscape construction thing, if you go on a Joel's page, and there's a photo of him in a singlet, so you can just see the full Yeti that he is. But it's him doing the actual work where they can see the progress of the before, during, and after. And I think that captures a lot of people as well. And then again, from a design point of view, jump on someone like Pollyanna Wilkinson, jump on someone like Landart up in Sydney. The guy up there does a really good job walking through from a design point of view, and he's giving out information. So he'll talk about different planting techniques or different styles, paving textures, all that kind of stuff, and people get a real interest from that. But again, don't get swept up in thinking that's going to convert to leads. So just because you're getting the view doesn't mean you're going to make the money from it. I cannot stress that enough.
Do a next question somewhere. There's a couple at the front. While that's happening is, so you didn't like Will Gibson either?
Yeah, let's throw him under the
I'm going to his house tomorrow.
I didn't like him.
No, just defend yourself right now. No, it's joking. No, but I think he's great. Will Gibson's got a... I am going to his house tomorrow to do a podcast, and who knows who he is? Hands up. The thing I love about him, if you go check him out on Instagram, right, he's got a dog with him, but he kind of goes against, and all the brands are gone now, so we can say this, right? They're buying the new fancy shiny equipment. He's got the old ute. He's got I think it's an old Victor mower. It's not self-propelled, all that sort of stuff. There's some tools that he's got that wouldn't be considered sexy on Lawn Mowing Contractors Australia Facebook group.
I don't think he's got boots.
He has yeah.
Sneakers.
He's a simple guy, and yet the results are there, and it shows that there's a market for that. And sometimes we get caught up on things that are. Although, having said that, I really do like new shiny tools as well, which is why I got these three guys up here. Next question.
G'day. Sorry, mine's not more of a question, but an answer to those looking for work. Commercial work, we subby everything out, from tree planting, turfing. Just go to a labour hire company. You'll learn so much. You'll learn all the plants, you'll learn all the trees, you'll learn everything. And then subcontracting in residential, diversify. I used to work for builders, excavator operators, anything. And then you just learn so much more for your own trade to help you sell to your clients later on.
Yeah, so what I meant by the commercial thing was I understand it's all subcontractors, and they'll bring in a paving crew, they'll bring in a planting crew and all that kind of stuff, but they're bringing in crews, not individuals. That's where it's a little bit harder when you're trying to start out. You're 100% right with saying everything is subcontractors, and if you've ever employed staff, you can understand why, because it costs you an absolute fortune to employ staff by the time you do all the overheads and everything like that. But I meant probably more as an individual trying to start out. So, if you're going to a labour hire mob, I don't know if you're going there with an ABN or if you're going there on their books. That was probably more what I meant, yeah.
Have you got another question? Nick's got his
I've
own
got a question.
So, question for you guys. So, over the next couple of months, I've got a big feature garden that I'm planning to build with a fire pit and that sort of thing in there. So, I've got an idea of some of the features and things that I want. So, fire pit to be in there. I'm starting to pick out some trees that I want. I sort of know like the edging I want. I want a little bit of lawn space in there as well. So, question is like, where do you start in terms of when you start to design something like that? What do you put in first? Do you put the main trees in first? Do you put the main fire pit, that sort of stuff in first? Where do you go?
Are you paying for this consultation?
I was literally just about to say my consult fee start at $500. Sorry, yeah. No, I was going to say consults start at $500, but every project is different. I think if you can get a designer in there from the start...
Don't give me too vague. Give me answers.
$500. No, get a designer on there from the start, and whether that's a professional designer or you're doing it yourself, sit down from the start and try and map out as much as you possibly can, because in this day and age, it's so easy to block yourself out from access to the backyard on suburban blocks just by having a hot water service down one side of your house. So if you can think from the start, like, oh, I need to get a dingo out there, I need to get a bobcat out there, whatever it might be, think from the start. If you're doing a fire pit, to give you a direct answer, then I would do all your construction before you even think about plants, because if you're anything like the majority of builders out there, you run the risk of stepping on them getting broken. So do all your hardscape, and also hardscape eats up so much more money. So do that, and then reassess your budget and where you're at, and then put your plants into suit.
In terms of design, though, as well, like when you start doing the drawing?
Yeah, in terms of design, I'd start with the fire pit first, because it's surprising how much room they take up. Like, they're massive when you consider the depth of the seat and the fact that if that goes around halfway around, and then you've got the fire pit in the middle, there's enough clearance. So I'd start with the fire pit first. And yeah, I start with hardscapes when I do designs before, and then fill in the plants later on. And then some people who are more plant nerds do the opposite. They'll do the plants and then work the hardscapes around that. But if you're going with a fire pit, they're so massive that you'd want to start with that first. Otherwise, you'll find when you design all your plants, then you'll go to draw the fire pit, and you'll be taking plants out anyway. So, good advice.
What do we got next? Remy there?
Do you guys sort of think like the social media is affecting the businesses as well? Like, people are getting too far into the social media, like starting out as well. Like, I see some of these videos and how much time it actually takes to make some of these videos. Like, say, Will Gibson, your clients aren't going to pay for that, some of them as well. So I think it's giving some people sort of false hope getting through that social media as well. Like, you got to really do the work to actually be able to do the social media after hours. I think that's what a lot of people aren't realising at the moment as well. You can't spend all day doing the social media at work, because people aren't going to pay for that as well.
I will say something. We did the Free-Mo Friday with Tim when he was in Perth, right? And I kid you not, we had Tim, myself, and my employee Elliot. Elliot's 16, 17 years of experience. If we were doing it for Silverstone Gardening, we could have done that job in, I think, about 8 or 9 minutes. And then the weeding on top of it. I'm just talking about the lawn. Tim did the lawn on his own, and it was about an hour and 10 minutes. And the reason is that he was thinking about the content. So he would edge a bit, move the camera, edge a bit. I'll restart. Edge, whip a snip, blow it in, move the camera, edge, whip a snip. And we're talking 2 meters, 3 meters. Whereas if the three of us were working together, you edge, I whip, you blow, bam, 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 done. Someone mows, picks it all up, pulls a few weeds out while you're waiting, off you go, see you later. And the same thing happened when we filmed with Brenton from the Aussie Lawn when we did a lawn renovation. 2 of us were taking 45 minutes to do the job. The whole video took about 3 hours. And I don't think, and I harp on this a little bit, when people, like say Nick, for example, might do a sponsored post and people go, oh, this guy's just in it for the money. Like, you just did an hour and a half on a video, and look, some videos will take you 30 seconds, whatever, but a lot of the guys out there, and you do YouTube as well, but there's a lot of guys out there spending a lot of time on content, and they are not making much money at all. They're doing it because they love it, and which is what Nick said before. If you don't like making the videos, all sort of stuff. I'm wanting to be an advocate that any of these guys, anyone who you like who makes content, like actually try and support them, even if like positive messages are good, but whatever merch they've got, whatever, is $20 to you, but these people put in a lot of effort. They're doing it out of love. I can think of a bunch of people we've had in the podcast with low follower counts, but great content. If they've got something, support them because it's a lot of work. Do you guys want to add anything?
Sorry, I do think Remy's got a really good point there too. There is a very well-known person who creates good reels, has a very large following, and you're shaking your head because you know who I'm talking about. They lost high-end clients because they spent so much time setting up cameras to film themselves. And I'm not talking about, like John Smith down the road. Like, I'm talking high-end designer work that was lost because they spent too much time setting up cameras. And if I'm paying someone 40, 50, 60, 100, whatever an hour, and I'm looking out my window seeing that, I would probably get a little bit pissed off too. So I think it's definitely an important tool to do it from a marketing point of view. We all need to do it, whether it's photos, reels, whatever it might be, but also just be aware that time is money. And if you're on site and someone's paying for your services, if you're there for 8 hours, but you've only done 6 hours worth of work because you've done 2 hours of content, then that needs to reflect on your invoice, because you will lose more clients than you will gain from your content creation.
I didn't realise that was going on because I thought people were charging fixed prices and then just mucking around the side. Anyways, Nick?
That sounds like a juicy story, but I think that's probably because I've thought about it too. Like, if I, once I've finished more of my renovations at home and things like that and start to branch out, like, what will I do? Will I take on clients that I do like packages for, like you do? Or will I do lawn renovations? And I've already sort of thought in my head, like, that's probably something to be transparent about. Like, this is what I'm going to charge you because this would take about 2 hours. If you're cool with me recording at your house, it's probably going to take me 3 hours, but just so you know, you're not paying for that. Like, I've quoted you for how long it's actually going to take. So I think if you did, if you do have an hourly rate client, but you say, hey, is it all right? Like, do this project that I'm doing, like, it would normally take me 5 or 6 hours. I'm probably going to be here for the whole day. If you're okay with me recording this project, I'll still charge you for 5 or 6 hours. Like, is that cool? So I think that transparency would be important. Yeah, and I think to like the original question as well, like people like making the content, spending so much time on it. Like me personally, I don't really watch TV series or movies or things like that. Like I'm quite happy to, when I go lay in bed, to make videos and stuff, and I actually enjoy doing that. Like, I'm not much of a TV sort of guy, and I think probably there's a lot of people who do it who are probably the same. They're probably happy and they enjoy actually doing it. So that's where that time that goes into it is time that you're going to waste by scrolling or by watching TV or playing Xbox or something anyway. So it's just a hobby thing. Do you want to add something, John?
This is more of a lawny question. I'm looking at doing a reno this year on Buffalo. Before I scarify and everything, with pre-emergence and stuff, is there anything, if I spray pre-emergent first, does that damage it when you then go to like do your reno?
Nah, and don't get too worried about Buffalo and what you can and can't spray on it either, because you can still treat it pretty much the same as a lot of lawns. There's only a couple of sort of herbicides. But yeah, get your pre-emergent out late August, early September. That'll be fine. That'll put your barrier in there against, if you get a lot of paspalum in your area, make sure you go up to about 40 mils per 100 squares to keep that away. And yeah, rip into it. Just don't go too hard in terms of scarifying and that sort of thing. I think you verticut Buffalo a bit. So you could probably talk about that, your ongoing maintenance of Buffalo. But yeah, don't top tress too heavy and that sort of thing as well. But yeah, definitely come springtime, come October for this climate, don't make the mistake of going too early. Like heaps of people, we had a beautiful September last year. And I think there was a lot of people who went super early on their renos, and then it cooled right down in October and it was like, shit, now it's just, sand everywhere. So hold off till at least October, definitely. Don't get encouraged when we have those 27, 28 degree September days. But yeah, the verticutting and the buff.
I think we talked about this on the podcast today, but to answer your question first, if your lawn is thick and you're just doing a normal verti, right, and you're leaving grass, which you should for buffalo, you won't have problems. If you have a bare patch, just don't spray the bare patch, because when the buffalo tries to go across, the roots will hit into the pre-emergent layer, and there's a thing called clubbing or root pruning. And if you Google it, the root, instead of being long and skinny, hits the pre-emergent layer and just stops growing and starts getting fatter and fatter because it actually prevents it from going through. And we actually had a guy who worked for us who was a licensed spray technician, and I just thought he knew this, and he sprayed an entire client's lawn. And I rocked up and I looked at it, and the grass was growing just a little bit funny. Like it was really long and spindly across the top of this thing. And I picked it up and was like, yeah, I've got root pruning there. And we literally came through. Barricade will stay in the top 1.5, 2 centimetres, but they weren't big, maybe the size of this table. And we just bought a couple of bags of potting mix from Bunnings and just scooped out the couple of areas with the sand and then put the new top, like the potting mix in just to give it new soil, and it worked and they started growing again. So other than that, you should be fine. And one of the things I think is really underrated is, are you a home enthusiast or you're a contractor?
No, contractor, but I want to move into cylinder mowing and stuff, so I'm going to try and mow lawn first.
Yeah, awesome. So when people get, say, the battery-powered scarifiers, Greenworks has got one. They were here tonight, so we'll use theirs as an example. I don't think scarifier is the right word for it. It's really a groomer, right? Because a scarifier, to technically do that job, you really should be going subsoil, really ripping out that deep thatch. And a lot of them don't quite do that. And what happens is people think of them as scarifiers, they use them once a year, right? And then they sit them in the shed. But if you have a lawn and you have one of those battery, cheaper options, use it all the time and use it gently and just tickle it, because that's one of the things that we do. We call it grooming. If you go on our packages on our website, some of our packages have 2 or 3 grooming services a year. We're just tickling it. And you know how buffalo gets those runners that grow across the top, cleans them all up. Kaiku doesn't get as thatchy. And we've had lawns, especially the buffalo ones. I can think of one right now that we have never verti mowed. It is clean, it is pristine, because we're not over fertilizing it, and we're doing 2 typically on that lawn, light grooms a year, and it's enough to keep it going well. And so a lot of people, they buy like the Predator petrol scarifiers, or they've got an old X-High machine or something like that, and they've got it sitting there, and if you just set it up a little bit higher, tickle the surface, it's super underrated. We've got other questions?
Something I was did, and I was worried about bare patches on my nature strip actually, because when I did it, I skipped little bits where I wanted it to fill in and spread, and I was worried how potentially systemic the pre-immersion might be, and if you got too close to those bare spots, whether it would fill in. But just got really close to those little bare areas, and they've all filled in and everything now as well. So just in case that's something. Yeah, with bare areas, I was sort of worried how close can I get for it to be in the soil and working in that area. But yeah, that worked out well for me, so that was good.
And this is where it gets a little bit more nerdy, right? Because if you have kikuyu that's already in the soil, there's no root pruning. It's fine, right? It'll grow up from underneath, whereas buffalo won't. So there's all these different little things. And anyways, we've had all the problems. We've had all the complaints because we've done all the mistakes. Anyways, next question. And I will say, we're at an hour now, people. That went fast. If you want to go to bed at some time, and I'm a night person, so I can be here till 1, I'll be fine, right? But I'm happy to do as many questions as we can, but we'll try and rapid fire these answers and, just try and get through them. So, Bryce.
Yeah, just a quick question then. Just the future of both your podcast and Joel's podcast. Do you want to change anything, or are you just keeping the same format moving forward into after your tour and what you're doing, Joel, as well?
More Peter Donegan.
I'll probably try and have less Peter Donegan. He's been on a bit too much, but yeah, I'll just be doing the exact same thing. I've already got 4 episodes in the bank, which is good because I have previously been burning the candle and recording the episode on the Friday, releasing it the Monday, but now I've got
Monty Don. You got him on yet or what?
No, didn't get back to me.
Yeah, try harder.
Pollyanna didn't get back to me either, so.
Do you want me to ask her?
Yeah, thanks. But yeah, just doing the same stuff. I don't have any plans to change it.
I got lots of plans. First release colouring book. I think my favourite podcast, we got one hopefully coming out this week. We did a tour of Adelaide Oval. Some of you might have seen the stories. The in-person podcast with wireless microphones, there's something weird sometimes depending on who you get, or some are really good, but some people are really uncomfortable with like sitting on a laptop screen back and forth. You chuck a wireless mic on, stick it under their shirt, pop it up here. 10 minutes later, they've forgotten it's there, hit record. You get some great conversations. So part of what we're doing here is we're going to people's properties, like with Will Gibson tomorrow. He might cancel on me now, like something might happen, and this is all public, but hopefully it's out.
He's going to see Joel's response and go,
Yeah, that's it, yeah. But like, go to the house, like show me how you do your garden. This has been approved, so I'll say it. It's not been paid for yet, so there's a risk. But we are going to go to Eden Park in New Zealand, and we're getting fly there. There's a company that's sponsoring it, and we're going to go around Eden Park, and then we're going to go to. I'm going to Lawn Solutions next Monday, and we're going to go through Lawn Solutions and look at the grasses. Going to Jim's mowing Thursday morning, and actually to the headquarters. How do you run your business and all that sort of stuff? Like, for me, I get really excited by that. This is what we're talking about with Miles Baldwin and stuff. Like, this is a super busy 3 weeks for me, right? It's nuts. But Craig, and who knows Craig from Southern Cross Gardens and Nick from Frame It, hands up if you've seen their work. A few of them have like some of the crazy great hedges, and they've got this one that Craig used to do, he passed on to Nick, which is a Miles Baldwin garden. They're going to take me there and just show up how bad I am. And just how I just want to see, like, can I keep up with? I know I can't, but I'd love to do the work with him. I'm considering, just between me and you and everyone else, buying my own little Buxus and sticking it in the back garden and recording myself on the right angle, just hack away at this thing in this beautiful garden. Hopefully it looks like I'm actually making a mess. Like that, like stuff like that, because that's fun for me. And it's really expensive, which is why we're doing it right now when we're over here. But hopefully we can get some more sponsors on and do more that sort of stuff. I said quick answers and I ruined it. Bloody hell, who invited this guy?
What a shock.
I'm going to try to keep it quick. You mentioned earlier roughing it early on. Who gives you the feedback when you're roughing it on how to improve? And second, small question. Media releases for content that you're filming at client properties. Is this something that you guys have had to deal with? And how would you suggest tackling that?
That media, what you just said then, that is spot on. So we did a job 2 Christmases ago for one of the wealthiest families in Australia. It was a last minute, I designed it, and then last minute we ended up building it because the original landscape contractor pulled out. This was down on the Mornington Peninsula, an absolute beautiful mansion with the most amazing water views. Like, it was incredible. And then one of the contractors was up on the top deck filming the view and had the house in there. And next minute I got an email from them saying to remove all content straight away, as we did not have their permission. So I messaged the contractor straight away because I can't fight that kind of money whatsoever. So that's a really good thing. The majority of clients that you'll work with, you can just have that conversation with them and they'll be fine. But you might want to look at trying to get that included in your packaging and stuff like that. And I'm sorry, I've forgotten your first question.
When you were roughing it early
Oh.
on, who did you get that feedback from if it wasn't for social media at the time?
As in, if I was doing a crap job, my wife was pretty spot on with that. Andy's always been a really harsh critic, and I don't know if you've met this Sasquatch, but he's pretty good on it too. So I think just become mates with people in the industry, and they'll tell you, they'll be honest with you, or ask for feedback, and they'll be honest with you and say, look, I think what you've done here is really good, but maybe try this next time. So no, I'm going to skip you. You can't talk. not responding.
Question over here.
You all run successful businesses in your own field.
We present like we do.
Yeah, or you're all catfishing well. As far as staff go, when you're employing, are you looking for experience or qualifications or ambition? Like, are you willing to take on a young guy that looks like he's keen over someone that's maybe stepping down a role somewhere else? Maybe it hasn't worked out and they're sort of set in their ways, but you know you're going to get a certain level of quality? Or are you going, nah, they had to have finished, had to do a Cert 4, Cert 3 diploma, design, landscaping, maintenance, lawn care, like in your own field, what do you look for when you're hiring someone as far as maybe a entry level and a team leader, if you've got that in your business?
I'll be really quick. Cert 3 to me means next to nothing in terms of your knowledge. It means a lot in terms of your commitment to the industry. So it means that, like, I still feel like I'm going to have to train somebody who's got a Cert 3, but if they got a Cert 3, I'm like, okay, they like the industry enough that they're committed. Somebody who's been in the industry for 5-6 years would know a lot more than somebody who just got a Cert 3. And then as in terms of like enthusiasm and stuff, the honest truth is that unless you're really good at interviewing people, people will show you their best side in the interview. We do a trial day and you weed out the worst people in a trial day, but I think it takes about 3 months to find out if someone truly is a good fit for the business. And luckily, I believe, don't quote me on this from a legal sense, but you're allowed, the probation period's been extended to 6 months. And I think that's a good thing because 3 months is enough time for people to hide.
Graham Rowe said on my podcast just yesterday really well that you hire on personality, not anything else, because you're not going to know whether they're any good within the first week or month, but you'll know if they're a good person usually by talking to them straight away. And then if they're horrendous at their job just because they're a good person, you don't keep them on. But that's how I would choose, hire with a personality and someone you can get along with.
Yeah, I think spot on. You can't teach passion, and this is not necessarily the highest paying industry. So I think you want someone that's there that is passionate on it. However, at the moment, it's been such a struggle trying to find staff that, you know, like you'll call your nan up and see if she can come and help you because everyone has struggled to get staff. So I think passion is good. People that present well too. Like if we've got multi-million-dollar houses, like I don't want, you know, some rat bag looking fella going there to mow the lawn because the clients are gonna get freaked out. So it's a bit of a tricky balance, especially at the moment. I think staffing will become easier because I think a lot of the startup companies that were formed during COVID are going to struggle at the moment because cost of living has brought the playing field back down to what it is usually like. People aren't booked out, like Joel is, but majority of people aren't booked out that 2 years in advance anymore. So I think the playing field is kind of back to where it was. So I do think that you'll find a lot of people will go back onto wages and will be able to get staff back if that's the avenue you want to go down with your business.
More questions?
Can I ask one?
Sure.
Thank you. Everyone's been asking questions about social media, and I just wondered how much, like in terms of energy you're putting towards things in your business, how much of a percentage would you say that social media takes up of what you're focusing on in each of your individual businesses? And then maybe more of a personal question of everyone also, rightly so, has been trying to ask questions or asking questions about profitability and growing a business. But what would you guys say is your biggest advice or takeaway from your time in the industry to just actually enjoy it?
I've always said to my wife that I spend the majority of my time at work, so I'd rather do something that I love and have a passion for than sit in an office and do a 9 to 5. Where I've worked my bum off to be comfortable enough in my industry now that we're okay. We're never going to be millionaires, but you know we do all right. From a social media point of view, I don't put the commitment into it like these guys do here. I don't have the following that they do. But in saying that, probably 80% of my work still comes via social media. So even though I'm sitting here going, views don't necessarily mean money, I still get a lot of my work via social media, and I get a lot of my opportunities via social media. So I now write a monthly gardening column with a magazine, and that was from Instagram that I got that. So yeah, I do think it is an important thing to do as well.
In terms of being profitable, I think trying to make things that are chores more enjoyable is good. So if you can sort of get satisfaction out of seeing you've made a profit on a job and tracking your hourly, tracking your project or how long you're on a job and what you quoted for it. So comparing those two together so that you're aware whether you're making money or not, and talking to an accountant or doing Luke's business course is good because it's got how to work out your hourly rate in there, which is that's one of the best videos you could watch. But yeah, in terms of social media use, I'm quite inconsistent with what I do because a lot of people tell me they don't understand how I do a lot of what I do, but that's because I don't do all of it at the same time. I'm only ever doing one thing. So if I've got a lot of work to get done, then I'll do that. I won't set the GoPro up or do anything like that. So I just focus on what's important at the time, and then. But that's why I don't have as much work coming from social media as what Ash does, because I'm more inconsistent and just random with it. But
you talk about enjoying the job. This will be somewhat controversial to some people, but I think the best way to enjoy your job is to charge the right amount of money. And the reason I say that is that people are already in this industry, already like the industry, right? They didn't come into it for the money, and the thing that destroys businesses and the fun of it and the challenge of it are bad clients and underpriced jobs. And you take on bad clients when you're desperate for work, and you're often desperate for work when you don't have money, and it all comes from undercharging. You get bad employees because you have to pay them a certain amount of money because you can't afford the good rates because you're not charging enough. It all comes back to that. And then ultimately, the interesting thing is that the thing that often allows you to charge more money is your marketing, right? Alex Hormozy, who's a business sort of guy, he has a saying that, I'm gonna screw it up now, but confidence comes when opportunity exceeds capacity. So what that means is that when you're getting 10 requests a week and you have 2 spaces, that's when you get some steel in your spine as a business. So it's interesting that this is all sort of related and come back to this. When people have really good marketing systems, they really understand how to get people in the door. They can have a kind of what I call sort of like healthy arrogance, where you go, oh, you don't like my price? Oh, that's okay. No worries. I've got 8 other people asking. And you're not really disrespectful in that kind of arrogant, but you can just stand up straight. And I think that's when the job becomes fun, because it allows you to take on the jobs you like. It allows you to make money. It allows you to finish at 3 o'clock if you wanted to. And then it's sustainable and all that sort of stuff. Do we have any more questions? Nick, would you like to finish with any advice you would have to finish that off on the social media side?
So I think I've learned a lot from my wife and watching her run businesses for the last 5 years. So she had her original business in finance broking, and then she was sort of poached to come and part own, be a 50-50 owner in another business, which she's now gone back to her original business. So she's in an incredibly fortunate position at the moment of being able to rebuild from the start her original business, and she's doing heaps of things differently. And so things that she's doing is finding people that love to do the things that she hates to do. So some people she's found they just love monotonous admin of entering in like new client data and stuff like that. She's like, I could not think of anything worse in the world. She just hired a PA who just loves organising things. Absolutely just froths at spreadsheets and doing things and arranging stuff and like just loves it. So she's like, Kate's like, look, if you can help me be organised, that's going to help me be more productive in my business. I hate what you're doing. I don't know how you like that, but you know, thank you, because you're making my life easier. So I think I can probably take that from her. And, you know, for people that are hiring and stuff as well, if you can find people to do the stuff you don't like doing as much, and you can pass that on to someone else. I think you've talked before about how you hired someone who was a worse gardener than you so that you could do more managing the business, but you were better off to hire someone to do scheduling and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Because you should be doing the gardening because that's what you're good at, you know. So I think probably assessing what you're good at. That's something I feel really fortunate to. And something else I was also thinking about while you guys were talking then too is to enjoy it, and to, you know, then you talking about charging the right amount and things, I think is like really consuming a lot of content. There's so much great information. Like, yes, it's my wife, but even Kate going on there and talking about like finance things to improve your business, like other episodes you've done with your business coach and other podcasts that are out there, like upskilling, doing courses. In all seriousness, like your gardening course, I've got access to it. I haven't looked at the whole thing, but what I have looked at, I'm like,
up anyway, you know what I mean?
You know what you said, 30% off. So like with that discount, you might invest and you might look and go, oh, okay, I'm investing, or I'm paying $500 or whatever, but you're investing $500, whether it's your course, whether it's someone else's course or whatever. You might be an upfront cost to pay $500 or whatever, but you could make that back on one job. if it's a larger project or whatever, you can make that money back from learning and self-development and all that kind of thing pretty quickly. So in the age of all of these, like we talked about earlier, online courses and all of that knowledge and connecting with people on Instagram, that sort of thing, for me, as someone who's looking to do that in the next few years in some capacity, build on my Instagram and do more hands-on stuff, whether it's lawn renovations, packages, blah, 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 that's where I'm like, I feel really fortunate to have had your podcast and other things to learn from, to know, just stuff like charging the right amount and that sort of thing. It's really helpful starting out.
Well, we're about to give away some AG secretaries, but could you please put your hands together for these amazing guests? Put our hands together for each other. Put your hands together for Casey for helping out and also for starting a new business and finding a new job.